Good evening. On World News Tonight, diplomatic efforts. India and Pakistan exchanged their respective lists of nuclear installations during discussion. Deadly blaze. New Year's fire tragedy in Switzerland has killed about 40 and injured over 100 people. Joy restored. 53-year-old cancer survivor has her pre-cancer hair restored, bringing back her confidence. Good evening and thank you once again for joining us on World News Tonight on Derana News Channel. India and Pakistan exchanged their respective list of nuclear installations and facilities through diplomatic channels under an annual arrangement stipulated in a bilateral pact.
India and Pakistan exchanged their respective lists of nuclear installations and facilities through diplomatic channels under an annual arrangement outlined in a bilateral agreement. According to India's Ministry of External Affairs, the exchange was conducted simultaneously in New Delhi and Islamabad. Pakistan's Foreign Office spokesperson Tahir Hossain Andrabi confirmed the exchange, stating that it was carried out in accordance with the agreement between the two countries. The latest exchange comes despite a brief military flare-up between India and Pakistan in 2025, which had strained already fragile bilateral relations. The agreement, signed in December of 1988 and enforced since January 27th of 1991, prohibits both countries from attacking each other's nuclear installations and facilities.
The massive blaze that spread across a packed bar at Swiss Alps ski resort shortly after midnight of New Year's Day has resulted in the deaths of at least 40 people and injured hundreds. The cause of the blaze is under investigation. However, this marks one of the worst tragedies known to Switzerland.
Video from inside the New Year's celebration in the Swiss Alps shows the chaos as the deadly flames spread at a bar popular with young people and tourists. You can hear the screaming, people scrambling for the exit as the flames rip through the confined spaces of the bar Le Constellation. Swiss authorities say about 40 people were killed and more than 100 injured in the fire that began at 1:30 a.m. The cause of the blaze now under investigation, though Swiss officials say they've ruled out terrorism, calling the fire an accident that led to an explosion inside the bar. Just 90 minutes earlier, celebrations on the streets of the upscale ski resort Crans-Montana. But what many thought were the sounds of New Year's Eve fireworks were in fact one of the worst tragedies Switzerland has ever experienced, according to the country's president.
Aujourd'hui, la Suisse est triste.
Saying today Switzerland is mourning. This young woman says she was holding on to a friend as she escaped. She let go of his arm, and now she says she can't reach him. Officials warn identifying the dead could take days. Many of those killed were from abroad. Witnesses describing the sheer panic as people tried desperately to escape.
A lot of people were screaming, trying to escape, and I saw a lot of people on the floor, and I think these people was dead.
Officials say first responders were on the scene within minutes and the fire was quickly put out. Many so badly burned, they were taken to various hospitals across the country. The grueling work of identifying the dead and notifying their families is now underway.
Calls for a royal commission into the Bondi terror attack are growing louder and harder for the Prime Minister to ignore as people fight for answers.
As a proud Jewish man and business leader, Alex Vinocourt feels a duty to fight for answers to Australia's worst ever terror attack.
The gravity of the situation and the seriousness of the situation, in my view, calls for the highest form of independent public inquiry.
The BetaShares CEO helped garner support from 138 prominent Aussies, who today added their voices to the chorus demanding a royal commission. Also on the list, billionaire James Packer, former RBA governors Philip Lowe and Glenn Stevens, Western Sydney University Chancellor Jennifer Westacott, Endeavour Group CEO Jane Herdlicker and Olympian Grant Hackett. In an open letter, they're urging the federal government to get to the root cause of anti-Semitism. This is a national crisis which requires a national response. This goes beyond politics. It's about the future of our country.
This is not the time for division. This is time for unity, and this is time for leadership.
What is Anthony Albanese hiding, and why is he not responding to these calls?
People can want the same outcome but think that there are different ways of achieving that same outcome that might be more efficient.
Violent clashes between protesters and security forces in Iran continue. The demonstrations are over the state of Iran's economy, which is plagued by high cost of living and plunging currency. At least 3 people were killed during the protest and several injured.
Tonight, tense clashes between protesters and security forces in Iran now turning deadly, with at least 3 people killed and 17 injured at a protest today, according to a semi-official state news agency. The demonstrations have been escalating for days, sparked by worsening economic conditions in the country. Cost of living is high, inflation is soaring, and Iran's currency recently crashed to a record low against the dollar. This video shows a protester sitting in the street, appearing to defy officers, leading some online to draw comparisons to this image from Tiananmen Square. While in Tehran, a number of shopkeepers closed their doors in protest earlier this week. They appear to be the biggest demonstrations in the country since 2022, when mass protests erupted over the death of Mahsa Amini. The 22-year-old died in police custody after she was arrested for not properly wearing a hijab. The latest unrest comes amid a period of heightened tension between Iran and the West. The Iranian president recently said his country is, quote, engaged in a full-scale war with the U.S., Israel, and Europe. And earlier this week, President Trump issued this stark warning to Iran over its nuclear program.
I hear that Iran is trying to build up again, and if they are, we're going to have to knock them down.
China will not accept any attempt to hinder its actions against withdrawing or its interfere internal affairs by using the pretext of upholding peace across the Taiwan Strait.
Song Shigang, spokesperson for China's Ministry of National Defense, made the response to a media query about statements from Taiwan's leader, Lai Chih-teng, and several countries including the United States, Japan, Australia and the Philippines on the recent Justice Mission 2025 military exercises conducted by the Chinese People's Liberation Army Eastern Theater Command. Sung said that the drills fully demonstrated the PLA's strong ability to combat activities seeking Taiwan's secession, advance national reunification, and counter external interferences. The drills sent a clear message that any provocative acts crossing the red line on the Taiwan question will be met with resolute countermeasures, and any attempts to obstruct national reunification will not succeed. Noting that no one cherishes the peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait more than China does, Sung stressed that the real status quo in the Taiwan Strait is that both sides of the strait belong to one China, and the biggest threat to peace and stability in the strait comes from secessionist and external support. Sung urged relevant countries and organizations to uphold the One China principle, stop condoning and supporting secessionists in Taiwan, and cease stirring up trouble on the Taiwan question. He also called on compatriots in Taiwan to be fully aware of the extreme danger and harm posed by Lai's secessionist stance, to avoid being misled or coerced by withdrawal forces, and to defend their own security and well-being, as well as the fundamental interests of the Chinese nation, with concrete action. He pledged that the PLA will continue to intensify military trainings and preparedness and stand ready to counter secessionist provocations and external interference.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un visited the family mausoleum, the Kumsan Palace of the Sun, on New Year's Day. He was with his daughter Kim Joo-wei, who was making his first public appearance at the palace.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and his family visited the Kumsusan Palace of the Sun on the first day of 2026. This, according to the state-run Korean Central News Agency on Friday. What's notable was that Kim's daughter Kim Joo-wei appeared publicly for the first time at a visit to the family mausoleum. The media did not directly mention Joo-wei's attendance, but the photos released showed Kim Jong-un, his wife Lee Seol-ju, and their daughter Joo-wei standing together in the very front row, with Joo-wei positioned at the center. They were accompanied by key party and government officials, and the KCNA reported that all visitors made a firm pledge to fulfill their responsibilities and duties at the forefront of the sacred cause of realizing the eternal prosperity and development of the regime and its people's well-being. With the 9th Party Congress expected to be held in January, many are seeing Chua's appearance at the palace for the first time as a political signal related to leadership succession. The Kumsusan Palace of the Sun, where the bodies of past leaders Kim Jong-un's late father Kim Jong-il and grandfather Kim Il-sung are enshrined, is a symbol in North Korea of the legitimacy of the regime. Since coming to power in 2012, Kim Jong-un has visited the palace on New Year's Day almost every year, but he skipped the visit in 2018 as well as in 2024 and 2025, making the visit alongside his daughter all the more surprising. The KCNA also reported that on the same day, Kim Jong-un met with students who were to perform in a Lunar New Year celebration and took photos with them, apparently highlighting his image of valuing future generations.
Let's go in for a short commercial break. More world news coming right after this. Welcome back. The newly appointed mayor in New York City, Democrat Zoran Mamdani, vowing during a public swearing-in ceremony to enact an aggressive agenda aimed at making the nation's largest city more affordable for working people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Democrat Zoran Mamdani kicked off his term as New York City mayor on Thursday during a public swearing-in ceremony on the steps of City Hall.
I was elected as a democratic socialist, and I will govern as a democratic socialist.
Mamdani campaigned heavily on cost of living issues and was sharply critical of President Donald Trump, whose approval rating has fallen over the past year amid economic concerns.
If you are a New Yorker, I am your mayor.
On Thursday, Mamdani spoke of hope to a crowd gathered in Lower Manhattan.
Regardless of whether we agree, I will protect you, celebrate with you, mourn alongside you, and never, not for a second, hide from you.
U.S. lawmaker Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hailed 34-year-old Mamdani as, quote, a mayor for all of us.
He will be our first immigrant mayor in over a century. And he will be the youngest mayor of New York City in generations. But most importantly, Zoran will be a mayor for all of us.
Many New Yorkers expect him to be a disruptive political force after he promised a freeze on rents and free buses and childcare. Minutes after 2026 arrived, Mamdani took the oath of office in the historic and decommissioned City Hall subway station, which his transition team said reflected his commitment to New York workers who keep the city running each day. Republicans portray him as a foil on the national political stage. On Thursday, the lead group tasked with electing Republicans to the U.S. House of Representatives sought to portray Mamdani as a radical socialist. Mamdani's election victory could influence how Democrats approach this year's midterm elections that will determine control of the U.S. Congress.
Trump said that his administration was removing the security guard from Chicago, LA, and Portland. However, he mentioned that the federal forces will return if the crime rates escalate.
U.S. President Donald Trump said Wednesday that his administration was pulling the National Guard from Chicago, Los Angeles, and Portland. In a social media post, Trump said that federal forces could return when crime begins to soar again. He also claimed that crime had been greatly reduced because of the troops. Local leaders in those cities have argued that the National Guard deployments were unnecessary, accusing Washington of federal overreach. They also say the administration exaggerated isolated incidents of violence to justify sending in troops. Trump has defended the deployments in some of those cities, saying they were needed to fight crime and protect federal property and personnel from protesters. Judges reviewing lawsuits brought by affected cities have consistently ruled that the administration exceeded its authority. They found no evidence to support claims that troops were necessary to protect federal property from protesters. Trump's announcement came just before a federal appeals court ordered the return of several hundred California National Guard personnel to State Governor Gavin Newsom's control. It followed a U.S. Supreme Court ruling on December 23rd, blocking Trump's attempt to deploy Guard troops in Illinois. The court said the president's authority to take federal control of National Guard troops only applies in exceptional circumstances. Officials who opposed Trump's actions said the legal setbacks forced his hand to pull troops. Newsom's office called Trump's explanation the political version of "You can't fire me, I quit." Trump's troop deployments began in June amid protests over his hardline immigration policies and expanded deportation efforts.
A senior Russian military chief handed to the U.S. military attaché what he said was part of the Ukrainian drone containing data he said proved that the Ukrainian military this week had targeted a Russian presidential residence.
A senior Russian military chief handed over what he said was part of a Ukrainian drone to a U.S. military attaché on Thursday. He said the drone part contained data that proved the Ukrainian military had targeted a Russian presidential residence earlier this week. Moscow accused Kiev on Monday of sending 91 long-range drones to try and strike a residence of President Vladimir Putin in Russia's northern Novgorod region. Russia said it would review its negotiating position in ongoing talks with the US on ending the Ukraine war. Ukraine and Western nations have disputed Russia's version of events. The Wall Street Journal reported on Wednesday that US officials had found Ukraine did not target Putin or one of his residences in a drone strike.
President Putin told me about it.
US President Donald Trump initially expressed sympathy for Russia's charge, saying Putin informed him and he was very angry. But by Wednesday, Trump appeared more skeptical, sharing on social media a New York Post editorial accusing Russia of blocking peace in Ukraine. Kiev denies carrying out the attack, saying it's a Russian ploy to strain ties with Washington after Trump's meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
The airstrike conducted by Saudi-led coalition targeting the port of Mukalla in Yemen's oil-rich Hadramaut province has caused severe damage to nearby residential buildings and left locals terrified.
The Saudi-led coalition says it carried out an airstrike on Yemen's Mukalla port targeting weapons and combat vehicles allegedly unloaded from two unauthorized vessels arriving from the UAE port of Fujairah. Coalition spokesperson Tariq al-Maliki said that ships had disabled their tracking systems and were transporting a large cache of arms intended to support the Southern Transitional Council in Yemen's Hadramaut and Al-Mara provinces, calling it a clear violation of UN Security Council Resolution 2216. Al-Maliki said the operation was conducted in line with international humanitarian law and that no collateral damage occurred. However, local residents reported a different reality, describing chaos and destruction in the early morning hours following the strike. One resident said the airstrike hit around 4:30 a.m., damaging nearby homes and triggering violent explosions that shocked families awake. Others described severe psychological distress, particularly among children who were left crying and unable to sleep. A widow living near the port questioned who would compensate civilians for the damage to their homes. The strike comes amid rising tensions in Hadramaut, where Saudi-backed government forces have warned of possible military action after the STC refused to withdraw from the area. The coalition has since urged civilians to evacuate Mukalla port, a strategically important hub on Yemen's southeastern coast.
Japan is facing a wave of deadly bear attacks, and the number of attacks has increased since October, and the military deploying various methods to keep humans and animals apart.
In the peaceful forests of Japan, danger is lurking. This now the country's front line against bears. The land of the rising sun facing a surge in attacks, like this one on an 82-year-old woman pounced on during her morning walk in the country's north. This man survived an attack in his own garage. The bear tore off a piece of his earlobe. I thought I was going to be killed, he said. Since April this year, at least 13 people have been killed and more than 200 injured. 88 of those attacks were in October alone. The animals have been spotted in northern ski towns and southern villages, and even on the outskirts of cities including Tokyo and Kyoto. The surge in incidents prompting a travel warning from the US, Canada and China. Our primary goal is protecting our residents, this mayor says. The bear population in Japan has risen in recent years and reportedly exceeds 50,000. The increasing encounters attributed partly to climate change, forcing bears out of the forests into residential areas. Local and federal governments now on a bear blitz. The historical village and tourist attraction of Shirakawa raising awareness after a Spanish tourist was attacked, from putting up signs to encouraging residents to carry bells.
So we actually asking tourists to actually do not litter anything, like pick up all the trash and take it.
Other towns have called in reinforcements, bringing in soldiers to install traps and using barking drones, which launch firecrackers to frighten bears away. But national debate has sparked around the ethics of killing the bears. The government amending its strict gun laws to make it easier for hunters and police.
Emergency shooting allows municipalities to authorise the firing of hunting rifles.
Hibernation, the short-term solution for some, as snow continues falling across parts of Japan. But it's a problem only set to reawaken come spring.
Time for a short break now. We'll be right back with more world news. Welcome back. Being kind can go a long way, and this has been true for Elmer Valenzuela, who had died in a tragic accident. But his donated kidney helped save multiple lives, bringing 3 families together through grief and kindness.
In the Flowers of the Rose Parade in Pasadena, California, grief is intertwined with hope. Because this year, a float paying tribute to organ donors and recipients is honoring Elmer Valenzuela. He died after a tragic accident in 2017, but his wife Alma has loved beyond loss. 8 years later, a part of him still lives.
He's a miracle.
Samer Flya received Elmer's kidney.
He gave the life for a lot of people.
But when an autoimmune disease caused his body to reject the organ, Samer didn't think twice about what came next. Thanks to a rare medical procedure, Elmer's kidney then gave Brenda Johnson a second chance.
He told the doctor, if I can't have it, give it to somebody else so they can live a better life. And I just happen to be that person.
One kidney.
Thank you. What a blessing. My pleasure. I am very happy. I am so grateful.
Bringing 3 families together.
Because of Elmer, he gave the opportunity to live. He's still alive with us.
I feel he was here, and I'm glad for them they continue living.
A connection beyond words for all to see.
After 6 surgeries and chemotherapy, 53-year-old mom longs for her pre-cancer hair, and the hairstylist Deborah McDowell took matters to her hands to restore her hair.
Yay! This woman is about to have her hair magically restored after surviving a life and death battle with metastatic melanoma.
It started on my back, like just a spot on my back, and it moved to my lymph nodes. Eventually it spread through my whole body, organs, bones.
After 6 surgeries and chemo, today Amy Berry is amazingly cancer-free. But the 53-year-old mom longs for her pre-cancer hair.
It all fell out, and it was super emotional, more than I had planned on. Okay.
So she's turned to hairstylist Deborah McDowell, who's doing nearly the impossible. She's developed hair extensions for cancer patients that will attach to just an inch of new hair growth. The process is tedious and will take between 14 to 16 long hours. One strand after another is attached.
And it's so rewarding because it's just basically not vanity, is a woman's identity.
In fact, Deborah left the entertainment business in Hollywood to found Hair with a Cause in Los Angeles. The next day, the work continues on Amy Berry, who now has a full head of hair. Time for the big reveal.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. This is the best hair I've ever had.
Here's Amy before, and here she is after with her new beautiful long locks.
I look healthy. It makes me so happy.
This brave college freshman who lost her hair while battling leukemia also turned to Deborah to feel herself again.
Let's see.
Jamie! Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it looks beautiful.
Jamie Brown and her mom, Stacy, are thrilled.
I definitely lost a sense of myself because my hair was one of my favorite things about me. I just felt like anyone who looked at me saw that I was a cancer patient. So having hair, just like, I feel like a normal teenage girl again.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Sukmi Adhikari, and we leave you tonight with the visuals of fireworks lighting up New Zealand and Australia for New Year's Eve. Also, don't forget to send us your feedback through email at feedback.adncenglish@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. Thank you for watching World News Tonight on Aditya News Channel. Have a good night.